CTV News at 6 with Joe Perkins.
Good evening. Thank you for being here. A notorious stretch of Island Highway has claimed another life. Early this morning, a man was discovered dead after he was thrown from his vehicle on the wrong side of a concrete barrier along the Malahat. Around 9 this morning, what was left of a sedan was pulled back onto the highway. Just before 5 this morning, the driver lost control of the vehicle as he was traveling northbound around Wellswood Road. The car veered off the road to the right with so much force that it went over the concrete barrier. Part of the vehicle was discovered by a highway worker who was responding to a separate incident. He then called police, who found the driver ejected from the car.
No idea how he ended up or why he ended up where he did. It would appear that he attempted to brake before he hit the end of the concrete barricade. Once he hit the barricade, I couldn't tell you exactly what happened, other than the fact that he ended up down there in the low side of the highway.
Traffic was reduced to single lane northbound for the better part of the morning. The fire department says speed was likely a factor. The chief also says a small bag of marijuana was found on the scene. The BC Coroner Service is looking into the death, but for now, emergency crews say the crash is a reminder to all drivers to stay alert.
Keep your eyes open, and if you see something, don't just call 911, stop and check. You don't know if there's somebody there who needs help. So if you're able to stop and ascertain whether they need help, you can provide the vital link between survival and not.
The fire department says others may have been involved in the crash. The victim's identity has not been released. If you know or saw anything on that stretch of highway this morning, you are asked to call West Shore RCMP or Crime Stoppers. RCMP say a 56-year-old Duncan woman has died following a crash yesterday on the Trans-Canada Highway. As we showed you last night, the crash happened just before 5 north of Duncan. The woman was driving a small red car which collided with a tractor-trailer while heading southbound. She was taken to a Victoria hospital and died around 9 last night. Tenants in a Colwood apartment were forced to leave home this morning after a fire ripped through a suite on the first floor. Fire crews say a person was living in the suite before the fire broke out. It's unclear how the fire started, but witnesses say a person was in the suite prior to the blaze. Colwood firefighters arrived just after midnight to find the fire contained in the basement suite of the 2-floor building. Investigators are not ruling out foul play.
There's no readily available easy answer to why it actually started. This may take a little bit of work, but we have classified it as suspicious.
About 20 people were evacuated this morning, but no one was hurt. Investigators will speak to the tenants to try to determine how the fire started. The extent of the damage is unknown. Well, by the end of tonight, BC Hydro expects power to be fully restored in the small community of Ditidaht. The village on the west coast of Vancouver Island lost its power around 5 last night after it was de-energized over safety concerns following the theft of a substantial amount of copper wire. BC Hydro received a call from a homeowner in the area about the safety of the nearby electrical distribution equipment. After an investigation by crews, it was discovered that copper grounding wire had been stolen from approximately 300 utility poles along a remote 62-kilometer section of line between China Creek and Ditidaht. Hydro crews spent all day on site working on repairs today. If you have any information about the crime, you're asked to call BC Hydro, police, or Crime Stoppers. The BC Conservation Service is investigating the deaths of a number of swans in the Colwood area. And a warning, the images are disturbing. The carcass of a swan was found at the Esquimalt lagoon earlier this week, and parts of another swan were discovered nearby. BC Conservation Service says there have been 6 carcasses found in the past week. A woman who lives nearby says she's extremely concerned by the discovery, even though conservation believes they have likely been killed by otters.
I'm 90% sure it's an otter that's responsible for it. It's natural, but you don't see it a lot. I've heard of otters taking geese and swans and things like that. I haven't had any direct experience in it, but from looking at the carcasses, it definitely appears that an otter has grabbed them by the neck and dragged them under, which is the way they would kill an animal like this.
It still seems highly unusual to me. I've lived here since 1999 and, I've never seen it. And it makes me wonder if something's happening to the otter's other food supply, if fish runs have been low or if there's another issue.
Conservation says a necropsy will be done on the swan carcasses to confirm whether they were in fact killed by otters. Supporters of BC Forests took over the streets of downtown Victoria today in the hopes of ending what it calls the province's war in the woods.
Ancient forests under attack! What do? We fight back!
We must stop clear-cutting our old-growth forests and protect them. They're a wealth of biodiversity that keep this ecosystem alive.
The tree was one of a few hundred conservationists who walked to the BC legislature today. The rally, organized by the Ancient Forest Alliance, is calling on the Liberals as well as the opposition NDP to commit to a provincial old-growth plan that will protect BC's endangered old-growth forests.
There's got to be a commitment from both the BC Liberal government and from the NDP opposition before the election to ensure that we keep jobs here in the province, that we have sustainable second-growth forestry, and that we save our endangered old-growth forests.
We cut and we exploit the forest, and yet we do not understand the forest.
The rally winded its way from Centennial Square to the lawn of the BC legislature. The Ancient Forest Alliance says with an election upcoming, it hopes its message is heard. Along with creating new jobs, the group also wants to put an end to exporting massive amounts of raw logs out of the province. Chances are, for a few people, the party has already started. Tomorrow is St. Patrick's Day, a day to celebrate, for many another excuse to have a good time in Victoria. Whatever the reason is, that translates into a big day for business and a busy day for police. Victoria Police will be out in full force making sure people party safe and get home safe. Party goers are reminded to plan accordingly, especially if you plan to drink. If you're taking a taxi, expect longer than normal wait times. Buses will be operating at normal service levels. Many downtown bars are opening their doors early, with some lineups expected to take form in the morning. Island soccer fans had today circled on the calendar. The UVic Vikes men's soccer season may be over, but the highlights from the pitch continue with a visit today from the Vancouver Whitecaps.
You take the long line and I'll take the short line.
Plenty of Whitecaps fans enjoying not having to leave the island to take in their favorite team. The friendly match between the two teams has grown into a bit of an annual tradition. It started in 2006 before the Whitecaps moved into the MLS, the league they're currently in. For the Vikes, it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
A lot of these players will never, ever get past the university level. So to have a chance to play against pro players, I think it's a great opportunity for our university.
It's definitely fun, and we respect a lot what they're doing, and we like how hard a game they give us. It's a big part of what we're doing.
The Vikes put up a good fight, only allowing 3 goals. 3-0 was the final. We will have full highlights for you with Myra during sports on Monday at 5 with Hudson Knapp.